Hello, everybody. This is an update to the gathering, which was recorded yesterday. In the time frame after the gathering, I came to understand that I made a little bit of a mistake, and I'll put the glyphs up here to show you. The full moon is in the sign of Virgo versus Scorpio. And as luck would have it, I am demonstrating that I am a human being doing astrology, and I was reading the chart, I remember late at night, and I just kept it on the super duper teeny tiny font. And if you can imagine those teeny tiny fonts on your computer, it kind of just looked the same. And I made a mistake, but I love that I made a mistake during the Virgo eclipse because this is a very Virgo thing for me to be sharing with you right now. Virgo is definitely about attention to details. Virgo is definitely about refining. Virgo is definitely about sharing your humanity and your humility. So, suffice to say, I can't go back and redo the entirety of the gathering yesterday, but I have redone the podcast and I've redone the rituals and I've redone all the personally themed astrological forecasts that go with this lunation. So, thank you very much for your understanding of my humanity, and I hope that you have a blessed eclipse. All right. So, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Um, Gosh, today's the last day of February. We are just a couple days ahead of the full moon lunar eclipse, which um, is exact on the 3rd of March. So I wanted to start to just kind of potentially frame this for us that, this is a culmination of an arc within an arc. So we had the new moon solar eclipse. This is the full moon lunar eclipse. It just so happens this time that it happens all within one lunar cycle. That doesn't always happen that way. And sometimes instead of two eclipses, there's three in an eclipse cycle. But this one's nice and sweet. And even though it's I say an arc within an arc, even though this is kind of the peak of the lunar cycle, a lot of people think about the eclipses as being their effects ripple out for about 6 months of time. So the themes that are coming up for us are totally good to just allow them to continue to marinate and allow ourselves to continue to work with the energy. So, we began with Aquarian energy with the new moon solar eclipse. Here we've got uh, Scorpio truth. And so, this isn't just any full moon. This is again kind of this collective threshold moment. So today is we're going to look at the details, some of the energy of the Scorpio eclipse, which is on Tuesday. And then we're going to get some understanding. Then we're going to do some personal integration as I think we're starting to look at our charts and look at how these aspects might be impacting us personally. And then also, return to some plant ally and support. And then we'll get to a meditation. So let's go ahead and just kind of start by considering the energy and the phenomenon of a lunar eclipse. So this is a picture of a lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses are often red, but they can be orange. They can be, depending on the color of the stuff in the atmosphere. It's different kinds of colors, but this is what we're likely to see. This is visible in North America, especially on the West Coast around 3 a.m. Pacific time on the 3rd. And so when we think about what a solar eclipse was, which is what we just had 2 weeks ago, that is in sync with a new moon, which is an initiation with an exclamation point. And now we're in this lunar eclipse, which is always on a full moon. And that is a culmination point. It's a point of realization and manifestation. And so lunar eclipses tend, because they're dealing with the energy of the moon versus the sun, and that's our emotional terrain. That's our emotional body. That's our internal world. So there might be some things that are illuminated where we might not have fully allowed ourselves to feel. But also there might be, with Scorpio, there might be some intensity. But I want to have us consider that intensity doesn't mean dangerous. Uh, Intensity doesn't mean anything bad. It just means what it sounds like, which is intensity. And I said this earlier this week in the weekly astrology forecast. There's Uranus has been very active, and there's this energy of disruption. And again, that's another word that just is kind of culturally loaded, right? Um, but disruption doesn't mean anything bad. It might just mean shaking things up so that we can really welcome in the new. So I mentioned this is a Scorpio full moon. Scorpio is ruled by Pluto. So the themes of Scorpio are those the deeper themes, the hidden truths, Scorpio governs power, it governs control, it governs our sense of trust in what we know to be true. It also interestingly pings on our attachments, because it's about transformation and death and rebirth. There's the opportunity to really take stock of what it is that we are attached to and why. And that does not mean that we need to let everything go. It just means to take stock. And the idea here is, Scorpio kind of invites us to look at where we might be gripping. And it invites us into a deeper level of surrender. And again, the word intensity might feel scary, that these ideas of change might bring up some discomfort. That's okay. That's natural. And it's very likely when we're walking through these times, the worst things that we fear are not going to manifest. There's a chance for something new to make itself known for us. So I want to invite us right now to just kind of take a few breaths and consider what might be present for us in this moment. Even though we're a few days ahead of this eclipse, it's a really good time to start to take stock. Everything in astrology is, as I like to say, cusp, right? It's not that it happens at 3 a.m. on the 3rd or it doesn't happen at all. We can likely kind of start to feel into the pulse of what this is about for us. So let's take just a nice inhale. I want to invite you to just take a breath in through your nose. Come into this moment, come into your body, arrive at this gathering, and exhale through your mouth. Take your time. And we'll do that 2 more times just to invite ourselves to really energetically arrive here. Breathing in and releasing that breath through your mouth. And one more time. Inhaling through the nose and exhaling. And I put here a few questions that we might consider. This doesn't have to resonate for all of us, but these are the sort of themes of a Scorpio lunar eclipse. Is there something that's really ready to be released? Is there somewhere where we might have been? I used the word gripping before, but fear kind of tends to want to hold on to something, right? And so there's this energy of, have we been holding on too tightly? But also, what truth might be ready to come up, because that is the nature of a full moon. And there's also the potential for a witnessing of an emotional patterning. And it's a patterning that, if eclipses lift us up and beyond linear time and space, then very likely it might be a pattern that has done its work, but now at this juncture in our lives, that we might realize that it no longer serves. And that doesn't mean it's a bad pattern. There's no judgment about it. It's just kind of letting
the energy do the work. So I just want to invite us to sit with these themes for a moment and notice if there's anything for you personally around these themes that resonates. And it might just be that one calls you more than the other. It might be something very concrete, but I also want to emphasize that it doesn't need to be um, set in stone and fully formed yet. We're going to get to a meditation here in a little bit of time. So I want to also frame this eclipse as a potential emotional release. I put the word detox here. That's another word that can be a little loaded, but the idea would be that, releasing emotions isn't going backward. It isn't, we're not judging, saying bad emotion, bad pattern. We're integrating it and we're bringing the truth of ourselves as we are today. And it doesn't have to be that we freak out and it's chaotic and we feel like we lose control. This is a really good week for us to move slowly, keep ourselves hydrated, rest, take good care of self, because it's it's not chaos. It's just an opportunity for upgrade. It's an opportunity for release and clearing. It's also a time where eclipses can be very intuitively on. Put psychic sensitivity here. So let's touch really quickly on the plant and the herbal companion that's with us for this lunar cycle. And I spoke a little bit about it last gathering, which is echinacea. And if you look at the way this plant looks, it's got a real pointy center. And plants with pointy things, many herbalists think about the nature of how they are protection. This pointiness of this plant, if you've ever touched an echinacea flower right where that point, it doesn't sting you when you touch it. It doesn't hurt. It's not like a thorn, but it's a protection. So, I think about it in those beautiful pink petals. That's about your heart, and it's about healthy energetic boundaries. And, if we're moving through a time of emotions and realizations, boundaries are totally okay and they're of the moment. And it doesn't mean that we have to draw a line in the sand and nobody ever crosses it. It means this can be a permeable boundary. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. I put here protection during vulnerability. Um, Healthy boundaries, strength and transformation, and really this sense of, and I think I put this in the next slide, being able to keep our heart open while understanding that we are protected. So, echinacea really protects without closing the heart. And if you happen to have echinacea, it's a good week to use this tea. If you don't, it's a wonderful ally energetically to consider. And I have one more slide here on echinacea and on the theme of protection without feeling like we need to fully lock the doors and close the blinds. Scorpio is an interesting energy. Sometimes it can raise defenses. Scorpio is a deep energy. It's an intense energy. It's a transformative energy. It can be a lot. So if this is the nature of an eclipse, which is also adding another layer of intensity, this is why I'm saying this week is about moving slowly and staying rooted so that we can meet the moment. And echinacea reminds us that boundaries aren't walls, they're living membranes, which is what I was kind of alluding to. And so there's this notion of discernment. And there's this ability for us to remain resilient and permeable and strong. This week, this plant can help us with that. I will show those of you who are a part of the membership portal, I'll show you where you can find a ritual for this nation. But what we're going to do first, I wanted to invite us to take a dabble into how this eclipse might personally affect us. And if this is your first time gathering with us, welcome. Thank you for being here. This next part Doesn't have to be that you understand it all right now. That I'll lead everybody to a page. I'll send everybody a follow-up email. You can look at this over the next few days. You can go to the website, you can pull your chart, you can really sit with the questions. But I'm going to walk us through this right now and help us to see how this there's an overall energetic, and there's a way that depending on what our birth chart looks like, we can kind of see what themes are ready to for us to have these types of realizations that we're talking about with Scorpio. So let me go ahead and share a different screen. I'm going to share a website, and I will pop this URL in the chat in case you want to go along with this right now. If you just want to watch and take it in, that is also totally okay. So here's in the chat this website that I'm referring to here that is available publicly. So if we go through here, there's this link that says access your birth chart. And this is a place where you can enter in your personal birthday and time and state, city, country, and you can generate a very simple birth chart. And what we're looking for in this birth chart is the information on where Scorpio is in our chart. So this, you don't have to be able to interpret this image that comes up. You can scroll down right here. It says houses and zodiac signs, and you're going to look to see which house number says Scorpio on it. So for me in particular, it says Scorpio is in my first house. And so this is going to be the piece that we're going to add another layer on to what this eclipse means for us. So if we look at this chart and think about the faces of a clock, you know, it's like a pizza, it's like a pie. There's these ways that every hour on the clock, every piece of the chart has a house. And just like the face of the clock, where the numbers on the clock never move, 12 is always 12, 6 is always 6, right? So in the terms of astrology, you know, the third and fourth house are always on the bottom, and the ninth and 10th house are always on the top. That's just the nature of the clock face. And the houses, different from the hours in the clock face, but same in the sense that they do not move on the image. They are life themes. And so each theme is going to help us understand where what aspect of our lives this eclipse might be impacting. So I don't quite have this up on this website. Now I'll have it up on this aspect of the website. I have it on the closed membership portal. So for those of you who are a part of the portal, you can navigate over here, but I'll get this to the public. We're going to go to rituals and herbal astrology materials. And if you go there, you will see, and I will put a link for this on the public page, Scorpio lunar eclipse at 12 degrees through the 12 houses. So one of the things you could particularly look at when you're looking at this chart is where 12 degrees Scorpio is, but I want to keep it a little bit more accessible and just say, look where what house Scorpio is in, because we could get more nuanced here, but we don't have to get to the meat of what I'm trying to offer here. So I have a little bit of information here about specifically the meaning of 12 degrees Scorpio, and we can think about this generally. 12 degrees is in the middle of the sign. It goes from 0 to 29, every house, every sign. So if we think about what happens when we're in the middle of something, it's the space where we're no longer wondering at the early signs. We're no longer naive. We're in it. It's we can't pretend. This is not late stage wisdom. This is being in the middle. So that's the energy of what's happening. And then I have here a little tool for us, and this is Scorpio lunar eclipse through the houses. And you can look and see. So I shared with you guys that, for me, the first house is where Scorpio's at, which means this eclipse is going to possibly impact me with realizations about what first house themes are, which is identity and selfhood. That's always the case with the first house. But we're adding a layer of how this eclipse works with it. So an old identity might be shedding. We might be intensely self aware. It might be a time for us to really feel inspired to rebirth something. And I put here this time because it's Scorpio, I added a little bit of a shadow if we want to look at what we might be working with, and also the empowerment, because every sign has a light and a dark aspect, right? And then a question for us to consider: who am I without this old armor? So you can continue through here. The second house is going to be, if Scorpio in your birth chart happens to live in your second house, the second house, this is going to be for you a theme about values and security. So this might expose something that you cling to out of habit, something we're holding on to. And if we continue here, I don't know that I need to go through all of them. If anybody wants to pop in the chat a house that you specifically want me to look at, but I'll do a couple more of these. And I really want to say here that it's okay if this doesn't quite all land the first time. This is something that we do. For those of you who have been with me for a few months in the circle, we do this, as you know, with every transit that's happening, as we start to personalize what's happening in the cosmos according to the thumbprint that is our birth chart. So third house is the house of communication. So this eclipse might support us in speaking something that's been bottled up a little bit. It might be a real nice sense for us to know that it's time to talk. The fourth house is always the house of ancestors and home and emotional roots. So there might be some family patterns that surface here. If Scorpio is going into the depths and bringing things to light, there might be some kind of a lineage thing that needs to be completed. And I'll go through the next two houses just to kind of give us the sense of what this tool is. And like I said, I will email everybody. So by this afternoon, hopefully you'll have the ability to pull the chart and overlay, look at these pages and see where your themes might be. But fifth house is the house of creativity, and it's a house of the heart. So there might be an intensity increasing in creative or romance. And there's also the question to consider, where have we dimmed ourselves? Where have we not just shown our heart brightly? And the final house I'll go through right now is Carlta says sixth house. Oh no, Christy says sixth house. We'll go through a few more. Carlta says eighth house. Okay, thanks guys. So sixth house, Christy, that's health and routine. So there might be some patterns. I called them psychosomatic, but I think if we think about health as energy, and so this is a really wonderful moment to look at a pattern that might be ready to be released or implemented. And I want to also say that this isn't, Scorpio is powerful and Scorpio is potent, but this doesn't mean that we have to do some major radical shift here. That's not the nature of an eclipse. It's more about the inklings. So, for example, with health and routine, maybe it's just drinking a little bit more water. This is not the time to be like, I'm going to join a gym. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I'm going to only eat vegetables. That's not the energy of the eclipse. And for me, if the eclipse was in the first house of my identity, I'm not supposed to go change my name and dye my hair pink. I'm supposed to really, and I could, but it might be something much more nuanced, because Scorpio is nuanced, and eclipses aren't about us doing the same old thing in a linear way that we do in the world. This is about having those realizations. So seventh house is partnerships. Maybe there's a time to negotiate power. Carl, to eighth house, this is shared power, transformation. This is cool. Scorpio's at home here. There might be themes of, there might be a big release. There might be something about intimacy, inheritance, sexuality, psychological rebirth. And maybe there's something that needs to be shed so that something stronger can live. Ninth house is the house of our beliefs. Spiritual truths may deepen. Ninth house is about worldview. It's a house of philosophy and religion. So there might be something that's really kind of more bigger picture afoot if Scorpio is in your ninth house. 10th house, Shar. This is career and visibility. So this might be a time for shifting. I put public identity, but the 10th house is about your presentation of who you are in the world and in society, and the add to the collective. Not that we have to add, but there. So if this is Scorpio working here, is there a role that we've outgrown? Shar says that's so timely. And she also says, my natal moon is at 9 degrees of Scorpio, midheaven at 8 degrees, and Pluto at 9. Yeah, so your natal moon is at 9 degrees Scorpio, which means this is an extra. We're going to get to, in the circle, another way that we're going to look at in the months to come how all of these transits can impact us. But to Shar's point of saying that she knew her natal moon was at 9 degrees of Scorpio, there's a whole other layer that we can start to do. But I'm going to be introducing more astrology, and I want to make sure I don't pull the cart before the horse here and give us something that can actually hopefully land. So let's just go through the last two houses since we've made it all the way here. The 11th house is known as the house of community. So if Scorpio is there, this is about group dynamics. Something might intensify, something might transform. You might want to redefine the sense of community and really look for something that's aligned with your future. And the 12th house, if Scorpio is in your 12th house, that's the subconscious and surrendering house. If Scorpio is in your 12th house, rest is extra essential. And this might be something that's dissolving beneath your awareness. If Scorpio is in the 12th house, it might just feel like somehow something beneath the surface is shifting. So I'm going to stop my share here and see if anybody wants to ask a question. Raise your hand. Was that helpful? Is there any other before we shift gears? Is there any way that I could be of service or anything you want to share about any of that? Feel free to unmute yourself if you would like to. Okay.
Say something.
Yeah,
Sorry.
hi, sure.
I was going to say, I don't personally, I still have not really gotten into house systems. It hasn't resonated with me. It just feels overwhelming. But now I'm a little bit more intrigued since career has been like literally, I had a breakdown yesterday, with Mars square Uranus and everything. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore with my job. Like I'm done. I'm so ready to part ways. And it had been building all week. It's been building really for weeks, but I had a moment yesterday and feel like it is coming to an end. So, yeah, just saying that now I'm more interested, more intrigued by house systems. So, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. And Carlta said thank you, and so did Christy. One of the things I want to say two things about your comment. One of the things that I just love, the thing that really, we're all kind of intrigued about astrology in some sense, but the thing that really made it stick for me, at least in this era of my life, I was sharing with somebody yesterday, when I was a kid, I had a Garfield pajamas that said I was a Libra. I kind of got it. And then, I would read Cosmo magazine and they would give you the horoscope, and it didn't really resonate with me. And I think that was because I was seeking something more nuanced and powerful. Not that we need to be the most powerful, but the more nuanced we get, that's the way some astrologers can pull a rabbit out of a hat and tell you about yourself, and they're just looking at your chart because they're looking at what the aspects mean. And so I find a lot of comfort in astrology in general, because to your point, it kind of makes it less personal, for me at least. It's like, oh, this is just the way that this cosmic energy is influencing the way that I took my first breath, the reality that was afoot when this little being came in. And so there's something really kind of almost subconscious, like reassuring. But also to your comment on the house systems, there's a couple different house systems, and if we look at the one, I'll pull up. Well, if you look at the house system that I use, that pizza or that pie slice isn't cut and dry and super neat. There are systems that will put everything in a chart in a very neat pie where you can see unequivocally that something is first house, something is second house, something is third house. And I'm not saying that one house system, there's different house systems. I just wanted to kind of touch on this. I don't know that one's better than the other. I do find that the one that I use is a little bit more complicated, but I like it because it allows for broader interpretation. So it allows for, say, your something is at 27 degrees of a sign and it's at the end of the house. Well, maybe that's the end of the house. And if it's at the very last degree, maybe it also should invite us to look at the beginning of the next house. It kind of helps us to see that this is, like I was saying at the opening, it's maybe something profound will happen at 3 a.m. on March 3rd, and all of our lives will be forever changed. There's a chance that's going to happen. But as we're all kind of realizing, like this is already happening around, the energy is already coming toward us. And maybe it's peaking on Tuesday morning, right? But it doesn't mean that we're not dealing with it now. So I kind of like the house system that is a little more squishy, only because maybe it's just my wanting to not feel like I have to say this is set in stone, this is the way it is, because there's definitely, even within the astrological community, a lot of discussion about what the old systems mean and what they don't mean. And so sorry for going on for that long. Yeah, which house system? I I'll get Heidi, I'll answer your question maybe at the end because I feel like we might fall down a rabbit hole. um, there's a couple different house systems that I've used in general. The two of them that I use are the ones that have the wiggle room in them. But then again, there's never been a time where I've pulled my chart and been like, they put it all in neat order and I'm not going to look at this chart. I look at every chart with just to look at, it's like you're looking at a Rorschach. You're just looking for what you see. You're looking for what draws you and what draws your attention as much as you're looking for the aspects. And I will put a plug that I am going to be offering in my astrology class again this spring. There's going to be a 50% discount if for those of you who are members of the circle, and it's going to be affordable. I really want this stuff to be that I really feel like right now is a time for us to all come together and be empowered and share with each other. And so you'll hear from me about that at some point, but just maybe not today. But I guess I kind of wanted to say that to say, if this feels interesting and you're just like, great, now what do I do next week? Like there's so many more times for us to continue to unpack what astrology means. And I would offer that 2026 is a tremendous year to be exploring this stuff because we can all feel like if all these generational planets are shifting, and we can all really feel the truth of humanity, everybody alive on this planet has not experienced what we're moving through right now. And so some of that can really be interesting times to look at this information. So I just wanted to kind of speak about bringing this full circle. And when I say closing the eclipse arc, it's not closing on Tuesday. There's another 2 weeks of the lunar cycle, and then there's another 6 months, right? But this is a time, which is why I really want to reiterate, for us to journal and to meditate and to be with ourselves. And it doesn't mean we have to hold ourselves up for 7 days. It just means the little things, 5 minutes here or a walk in nature there, So, but if we think about, we began again with Aquarius, we began with the vision and the seed. And the second part of this is going to be we're going to complete the cycle with Scorpio, and Scorpio is going to help us see the truth, feel the truth, know the truth. And so I put here, vision becomes embodied and the truth becomes liberated, in the sense that, if we have vision without truth, then the vision isn't really that powerful, right? And if we have truth without any kind of plan, then we can just experience overwhelm and not be able to flow the energy towards anything. So I think there's a really neat, wonderful way that these two energies complement each other. And it's worth noting that this eclipse is a south node eclipse. Eclipses happen when the lunar nodes, the north and south node, get near the earth and the sun. And depending on, so a lunar eclipse is the full moon energy. The solar eclipse is the new moon energy, but both of them can have either north or south node energy, and that's the thing that's really close to the moon, and that gives us a theme of north node is where we're headed. North node is our future vision. South node is where we've been. South node is the wisdom and the lessons and the things that we have picked up along our path. And this is really inviting us right now. If we're thinking about release, this might be a big release then. It doesn't mean it has to be chaotic and traumatic, but it might be something that really, to Shar's point, it felt like it was coming for a long time. And now the truth is at the doorstep, and that's okay. So there's this sense of kind of comfort that we can get here. And I want to right now, I think it's a good time for us to just drop in together for a meditation. So you can keep your camera on, you can turn your camera off. We'll just spend about, I don't know, about 7 or 10 minutes breathing and being with this energy. So go ahead and find somewhere, turn the camera off, close your eyes, whatever you want to do, and find your breath. And breathe in through your nose. And release the breath through your mouth. And as you inhale, come into your body. Come into this moment. And see if you can just come in without judgment. Just come present. And as you exhale, let the breath start to energetically and metaphorically be a release. Release through the mouth. Breathing in slower, slightly deeper. And breathing out through the mouth. And as you're coming into your body, just see if you can simultaneously feel the weight of your body, feel the physicality, but also just let yourself soften a little bit. As if there's just this golden light that's coming in and just inviting you to release a little bit. And we're going to stay with the breath, just a slower, slightly deeper breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And as we consider this full moon, we are with the energy of a full moon. We're also with the energy of a lunar eclipse, a reset, a culmination. And we can likely feel, Scorpio doesn't skim the surface. Scorpio goes to the root. So as you're breathing, just bring your awareness to your emotional body, to your emotional field, maybe even to your mental field. Scorpio is the energy of water. So if we think about what water means, notice if there's anything that has felt heavy or anything that has felt intense or even anything that maybe has come up a couple times. There's a patterning that happens around eclipses where it might be a repetition. And without judgment, just simply as you're breathing, notice if there's been something that's caught your attention a little bit recently or right now. And imagine that this is a time of empowerment along with a time of release. And so allow yourself, imagine your field to just be imbued with this golden light. You can imagine even standing outside at 3 a.m. this Tuesday under the light of the moon and having the experience of watching that beautiful, brilliant, bright light turn this deep red. And you can imagine that your feet are on the ground and you're looking up and your heart is raised and your third eye is raised. And what is the energetic experience of meeting the moment? Bringing your presence to what the eclipse is beaming down. And just see if you can breathe that in, take that in. And very likely it doesn't have to be something that we need to put words to. Just invite it if and as it feels safe for you energetically. And it's almost as if this red light is reminding us if there's something that's been starting to kind of shake itself free. Something that's intuitively we're a pattern that we're ready to release. But there's this, even though this is intense energy, this isn't physically violent or hard. This is energetically potent medicine. That's what the intensity is. So as you're breathing, imagine that you're inviting this transition naturally, slowly. And your heart is lifted, your third eye is lifted, and it's wonderful with a lunar eclipse. You can look at it with your eyes and you can take it in. And just notice what belief or what attachment or what identity is ready to fall away. And maybe even start to notice that this letting go isn't fearful. There's this, right at the same time as we're entertaining, releasing something, there's this kind of young innocence that's right behind it. And so as you're breathing in, you're taking in this wisdom, receiving this into your heart, receiving this into your third eye. And as you're breathing out through your mouth, invite this slow, natural, easy release to begin. And staying with the breath, breathing in, just noticing what's present for you. You're taking in the light of the red moon. Your whole field is imbued with golden light. So you're safe and you're held and you're just breathing and allowing the breath and the energy of the moon to move through you. And feel in your body right now, your spine. That energetic column of the spine is where the prana travels in our aura. And feel how your spine is straight and it's steady, and allow it to be rooted. If you haven't already, send roots down. If you can imagine yourself, if you're standing outside looking up at the moon, you can send roots down through your feet. If you just want to send roots down from where you're seated right now, send them down into the earth. and feel how nurturing and nourishing and held you are by the soil beneath you. And as you can feel yourself strong and steady and rooted, you can invite this energy as you're ready of transformation. Knowing that, Scorpio doesn't remove anything that is essential. This isn't about letting go of something that's going to be super painful. This is about releasing what is complete. And just let your breath help you be in this moment, present and rooted and heart open and ready to release what is complete. And then now also imagine what it will be like to step forward without the old weight, without the old pattern, without the old dialogue. Like I was saying, there's something about this energy of a Scorpio eclipse that it's not scary, because right on the heels of what is released, it's this beautiful light and clarity and presence of what is possible. And so see if you can start to, we don't need to go there just yet, but start to feel out there ahead of your body a little bit and see if you can feel light and clarity and truth. Maybe you can even start to invite your light, your clarity, your truth. Just take a nice deep breath in through the nose and release through your mouth. And we'll do that 2 more times, just breathing in through the nose and exhaling. And just like the breath, exhale is the release of what is no longer needed. And right after that exhale, what comes next? An inhale, fresh energy, fresh prana, fresh air. And see if you can just be with that experience. It's more than a metaphor, it's what is happening. And just be with your breath as if the breath is reminding us that this is a natural and sacred process. And just as we prepare to come to a close of this meditation, just to kind of consider that this lunar eclipse might release something or close a chapter or invite us to shift. And whatever small shift or big shift, we can kind of start to understand that it's actually freeing our energy for what we're calling it. So when you're ready, you can just gently open your eyes and bring yourself back to this gathering. And I just really quickly want to share another resource that I will put on the webpage that's available to the public. And just know that these resources are within the Lunar Herbal Alchemy Circle. I post them every couple weeks. But here we have a ritual here. If you would like to explore this in the next few days of time. I'm not going to go into it too much here, but I wanted to just give us a space to slowly come back to this circle. And you can sit with your eyes closed and be with the meditation, or you can just make a note that there's going to be a ritual that I offer that I linked it with echinacea and a rosemary smudge stick because those are the two things that are within those of you who are members received to work with this lunar cycle. That being said, this ritual can be done without a cup of echinacea tea. You can make any tea you want. You could use water. You don't even need to use water. But there's a space where I walk us through clearing the field and thinking about boundary medicine, and then really moving into the release and sealing the portal. So this is a resource that I will get to you guys hopefully by later on this afternoon. And I finally just wanted to get back to my slides. Thank you for your patience with me. Sometimes I feel like I get a little floaty. There's a slide. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of speak to what we're doing here and just speak to the idea that we're working with the lunar cycle and we're endeavoring to work with our own unique astrological thumbprint and learn about how these things can be uniquely integrated for our personal lives. And there's another layer that I call, there's a couple different words for it. Astroherbalism is one of the words that's out there. Medical astrology is another one. It just so happens that ancient cultures inextricably knew that herbs were linked to astrology. And I think in the modern Western world, we kind of go, what is that about? That's a thing. And so there's really a neat opportunity here for us. One of the things I love about plant medicine, I'm speaking about echinacea as plant medicine. We grow all the herbs up here, mostly me, and they're all grown organically. But working with plants for me personally has been akin to what I described with working with astrology. First of all, it's something that I can do in the 3D world that helps me ground down some of this nebulous cosmic energy. And there's something about plants, if we think about how humanity has evolved next to plants since we've been around, and plants really are our allies. And there's something neat about working with plants as we're working with cosmic energies. And for me, it really helps me to ground it down and embody it. So this is an invitation. This circle is going to be open through this next new moon, through the 17th. If you want to continue, there's two different options. There's getting the herbs, and we have a gathering on the new moon and the full moon, and you get a package of herbs, and there's no pressure to work with this. This isn't a course. This is something that you have to show up for every 2 weeks or else. This is just as it feels like it works with your schedule. There's another, if you want the extras, I also send out some tools. We have a rosemary bundle and some aragonite gemstones that a lot of you got to work with this eclipse cycle, but there's ways that we can start to work ritual and magic. And I really just wanted I wanted to invite you to check it out if it feels aligned. And regardless of whether or not that feels aligned, I wanted to open it up for comments and questions. We've got about 5 more minutes, and really honestly, just thank everybody who took the time to join us live today. Every time we get together online, it becomes something that's much more than just a random Zoom meeting. It really feels like there's a container, and there's the energy of the people here is amplified. So I just wanted to say thank you guys. Any questions about what we covered? Any comments?
So I am first of all, this was great. You did great, Lisa. So I've been studying a lot, and that has been very illuminating. And I actually am kind of looking forward to this lunation on Tuesday. And even though I don't feel like I know which way things are supposed to resolve, I feel like it doesn't even matter. I mean, it will matter, of course, because that means your 3D world changes. But in my heart, I feel like I'm in total equanimity with no matter what happens, that's what's supposed to happen. And I've been drinking my echinacea tea almost every single day, and that has been lovely. And I have found a lot of, what's the word? A lot of calming, just grounding, soothing energy with all of this, the information, the tea, the community that we share, all of that. And I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That means I totally agree, and that means a lot to me. I remember when I was wanting to do this, sometimes I would think, am I just making this up? And I'm like, no, wait, I'm not just making this up. Like I've been doing this for a while. But sometimes, it's, and I think the neat thing about this circle is we don't, and the other thing about this eclipse, to your point, it's not black or white anymore. It's not one or the other. It's not like I have to leave science in the Western world behind and go speak another light language in order to be able to do something and integrate the information. And we can do that, but there's this space right now. And I kind of was almost thinking as you were talking, Carlta, that maybe also with the eclipse, if we're really able to be in the process, maybe the things that maybe it's not even as dramatic as we were just entertaining. Maybe it's not, oh, I got to totally release this. Maybe in the process of us, bringing our truth, we open up the door for other things too, new things that we could not have conceived of, right? And like what you're saying, the equanimity, this ability to be present, and that's when the magic can happen too, right? That's when we can kind of just be with what's possible, and the universe delivers things above and beyond what we think is possible all the time when we're open to it. And I think that's part of the extra magic. So thank you for sharing that, because it helps us, I think, get up and out of the right versus wrong, the old versus new. Like I got to drop all this stuff because I got to go over here and reinvent myself. It's like, nah, maybe there's this more nuanced thing. So yeah, I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys are great. So I wanted to go back to Heidi's question. We have a couple minutes, and you asked about the house systems. And I kind of, I use Placidus house system, which is what I would say if you go online and you're looking at a free birth chart, at least half of them use Placidus. Placidus and Koch are the two house systems that do the squishy thing that I was talking about, that don't just make the pie line up real easy and neat. The ones that make the pie line up neat are called whole sign, or equal houses is another one that does that. And I really want to emphasize that I don't feel like any one is better than the other. I almost feel like everything, maybe we just find the right chart at the right time that gives us the right piece of information. And maybe there's a reason why we were led to look at this type of a chart, so that we could actually see something. And that's the benefit of the whole house stuff, is it does make it very easier. So Christy says, thank you so much for this. And I always love your meditations and wisdom. Oh my gosh, you're welcome, Christy. Mary says, thank you so much. Heidi says, thank you. Always great to get together.
I was going to say one thing.
Yeah. Hi, Heidi. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the house system thing. I have done my chart with different house systems, and most of the planets are in the same houses. So it doesn't make a big difference, but at least for me. But I was just going to say, when I put things in my calendar for our gatherings, I say, Lunar Lisa. So that's who you are in my calendar.
Oh my,
After
you know what, you're reminding me, before I moved up here to this farm, I did, you guys might know, I did farmers markets in the Bay Area, and I would polish gemstones. Like, I learned how to like do lapidary, and the kids at the market would be like, "There's Crystal Lady Lisa." I was like, you know what? I'm totally okay with that. Oh, cool. Thank you, Lunar Lisa. Dodie says, and Gail, everything is divine timing. Tracy says, two of us here, Susie and Tracy, and we're beyond grateful for you, this community, learning and growing and being together. Yes. Chelsea says, thank you. Okay, guys, like, look at us right on the hour. Not that we need to be timely or something. So later this afternoon or early tomorrow morning, but I'm going to do it this afternoon. I'll send a follow-up email, and you'll see, I'll redirect you to the webpage that is available to the public, and you'll have all the stuff that I showed you in the gathering along with the recording. And if you happen to feel inspired to continue the journey, like I said, the Lunar Herbal Circle is going to be open for until the next new moon, for the next couple weeks. Yeah, and if you have any questions, you guys all have my email, so shoot me a message. And I'm excited about, even though I feel like there's a little bit of trepidation and all the stuff I talked about, I think this is a really neat time for us to get together. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a blessed eclipse, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye, guys.